All right, y'all. I'm here with Kenny Gray. We're doing the first Shuffle Synchronicities musician video live shuffle. We'll rephrase that at some point. But Kenny, I met. He's a comedian, but he's also a musician.
Yeah.
Dan Lerman had a backyard comedy show. You did like a trombone or trumpet music teacher.
Oh, that was what I was doing. I did a high school band conductor who's losing his mind because they're going to Allstate and they need to win. Yeah.
I love that because I was in like a band with a teacher who wasn't that, but also kind of that at the same time. You did a really cartoonish version of that.
Yeah, that's the character that perhaps the most people have come up to me afterwards and been like, I know that guy. And they would give me that person's name, right? So
because they just care so much, right?
Yeah, but in a way that seems, I call it like Whiplash meets School of Rock. Like it's the counterproductive version of what Jack Black did in that film. But I suppose it leads to greatness for some.
Yeah, well leads to this, right? It leads to musicians who are so frustrated that they come up with a spiritual meaning to music like I did.
Yeah.
So there you go. And then for you have a new album.
Yes.
Tell us about it. It's a big one.
Sure, it's called Demolicious Derby because it's like a pun on Demolition Derby. Not that it matters, but I specifically call it that because I do view these songs sort of like demos. So it's 32. What am I saying? It's 32 tracks that are all the music I've made on social media since early December. Wow. And so they cover like a wide range of genres. And I called it specifically Demolicious Derby because I didn't change them from the social media version, so they are kind of demos in that sense where like one of these tracks these are tracks that could be expanded upon in the future if I wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I saw them on social media and I love them. There was one that really caught my eye was this Animal Collective one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was just it was a mixture of Animal Collective and Sopranos. I'm going to describe. We could just play it real quick.
Sure. Yeah.
It's so good. It's just like it feels so Animal Collective, but also once you come with the voice.
You know, the origin of this song is that I made in 2020 an album of micro songs that were 50 songs for 50 states.
Oh my god.
And the song for New Jersey, I made this beat.
Oh.
And one of the things I referenced was Sopranos, and I tried to go find it because I was like, oh, it'd be fun to like make that all Sopranos.
Yeah.
But the beat I had lost all of the music, so I had to remake it. And in remaking it, I remade the vocals, and it turned out much better.
Wow. So you're basically like doing what Suff Jan Steven said he was going to do. You actually did it. You made 50 songs.
I suppose they're like songs that are like 30 seconds long, but still, it took a long time to make 50 songs.
Who's that rapper? Was it Tierra Whack who did like the bunch, like really short, like less than a minute long album? That was a big thing. Like I think she did like less than 1 minute long songs, and they're like kind of how we are now with TikTok and stuff like that, and social media.
I think in these sort of 30-second to 2.5 minute bursts,
yeah.
And then years later, like to go back and read. Like people were like, you should expand these songs. And I do feel like in an artistic journey, what I would do is like come back to them. I would take some of them if I felt like a year from now and do that. Right. Which ones still resonate with me versus this is just like kind of just, I don't know. It feels very much like all these songs on this album feel very much like the musical equivalent of like a notebook or like a sketchbook.
Yeah. No, I get that vibe. And one thing I want to talk about too is it feels like a big shuffle playlist to me, which is cool for it to be the first one we're doing because it feels like there's so many different kinds of musicians that you're parodying or taking influence from. Like, talk to me about how you you made your own playlist for this. Like, talk to me how you put this album together.
Right. So as I was telling you, I did the Artist's Way back in December, which is just for people who don't know, just a program of about how long is it? 12 weeks? 12 weeks where it involves journaling and kind of just doing introspection on your own creative process and your relationship with creativity.
We can. I got the book over there. We'll bring it in for a second.
And basically, I engaged with it because I had felt like I moved to Los Angeles, was doing comedy, and sort of had reached a place in comedy where it's like I've kind of achieved everything I wanted to achieve in terms of new to LA. What do I want to do? And felt like there's a part of me that's missing still, which is music. And I don't know what it means because before comedy, I was like a serious musician, right?
You could tell by the quality of the music. I mean, yeah, it's really good.
But I was always frustrated with music because I felt like the freedom that's in comedy, that you're allowed to be silly, wasn't quite there in music. And when you're funny in music, it instantly is like, well, you're funny music, or it's comedy music, or music is supposed to be serious. Like one of the number one comments on my videos, not number one comments, but the thing that probably gets under my skin, right, is why don't you make serious music? Right. And so anyways, the long journey of this is that when I was in bands, I would always when I was playing in bands, I would essentially write funny lyrics and then turn them into serious lyrics.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, what happens if I just make what comes out of my head naturally? And that's what this all is. And another part of the artist way is, can you salvage anything from your past? And to be fair, like I would say maybe a third of these are tracks that I wrote demos of and abandoned because I was like, well, I have to do something serious with it because it's music and it's serious. I just was like, fuck it, I'm going to make something funny with it.
Yeah.
And just the kind of freedom of like, now this track exists before it was stalled.
Right.
So this wide sort of net is like, I do think, for better or worse, this encapsulates what I like, what I do. I was even thinking like making more music. I was like, I do think I would return to these same genres. Like, I don't think, like when people are like, you should parody.
There's a lot of genres too. I mean, there's like, it's not, I mean, one thing I was talking about too is like that first song, you have the opening song, What Comes to My Mind, and then you have this one that's kind of like about your question of comedy and music.
That's sort of like this is the one that started it off. Yeah. I don't know what comedy is.
I don't know what comedy is.
And this was a true thought I was having, and
it feels like it. Yeah, agonizing over it in a productive way, honestly. Yeah.
I suppose I was really embarrassed to put this out, especially the video too, because I was worried. There's this deep part of me that's like, is it weird for me to be singing at camera, and like, is this such a self-serving song, right?
I mean, let's hear for a second. You're asking questions like, what is comedy, what is music, and how do you combine those two things, which is like your identities. And I think Artist Way will teach you is that you kind of have to like be who you are. Like you can't like turn your comedy lyrics into serious, like just doesn't feel right. You maybe felt right to at a time, but now you're kind of doing both, and it's really effective, especially at certain times. I like this thing where you're like, kind of, is it Burr, is it Fleming, and then you're like, is it also me? And I think it definitely is you. Like, the fact that like, you said your biggest thing that people talk about is that music thing with the band musician. Like, that's speaking to the fact that what you offer is this new form of music comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I've done a lot of, I got sober 3 years ago, and I've done a lot of self-analysis, and I actually found that with the Artist Way, analyzing my art wasn't helpful. Because that's the question of like, well, is this comedy? Is this music?
It's kind of how you end the song too. It's like, doesn't really matter. We're just gonna fucking make it. Yeah.
It just is like when I put this album, it's like I don't really know what this is. I don't really know. I'm at a point. This album represents to me at least like I don't know what I'm doing, but this is what I'm making.
Yeah.
And sort of like let's see where this goes, right?
Yeah.
And like, like in terms of is it comedy, is it music? It's like I don't know. It's what I make though, and it feels when I listen to this, I'm like, oh, I like this.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, that's all. That's what it comes down to. I mean, do you think of it as parody in a way? Do you think of it as parody songs or no?
That's a good question. I can't deny that like I am cribbing. It's tough because I feel like so much of what artists do in general that's kind of not is reference other artists and turn it into their own thing.
Yeah.
And so for me, it feels like I would call it more like homage or pastiche, which is like none of these artists or songs are me making fun of something because I don't like it.
It's homage or pastiche, which is different. Yeah, it's instead of making fun of it. Right. That's very different.
And I like it. I like these bands. And like when I'm making fun of slow 70s rock or something, it's because I like that genre and I think it's ridiculous, but it's also funny. Right? And so weirdly, I don't know how to describe it, where it's like, just whatever part of me that likes doing sketch comedy and the groundlings and that stuff is the same part of me that likes to be like, I want to sing like Led Zeppelin, but kind of take the piss out of Led Zeppelin too, because it's ridiculous, but I love it.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like there's a song. There was like an Elliot Smith song to me.
Yeah.
It feels like there's like a BC Boys song, like a whole bunch of stuff. So, in terms of when you did the Julia Cameron, did you start thinking about your work more in a spiritual way? Like you'd be open to this kind of shufflemancy practice, and maybe through Julia Cameron? Because I mean, a lot of our work is how do you tap into the kind of spiritual element of creativity. Did that come through to you, especially with your sobriety or anything like that? Or
I think I've always been kind of open to all of that. I think it's more of a it's not something that feels very intellectual to me. It's something that just feels very, there's a mode I operate, like there's just a mode when I can feel that I'm in flow. Like almost all of these songs are the type of thing where when I was making it, suddenly hours disappeared and it just all happened, right?
Yeah, which is what we live for, artists. And people in general. I think what you're doing when you get in that flow state, it feels so good. With children, exercising, any kind of work, doesn't have to be quote unquote creative, like any kind of work that's productive.
I think operating from I think the biggest thing that I took away from the Artist's Way that I have on my desk is don't think it up, get it down. That's the big one, which is like, especially moving to LA, being slightly older, feeling behind. I was like, what do I have to do to get XYZ? And I think I lived a lot of my creative life. I think almost every project I've done shifts from pure joy to all of a sudden it gets me somewhere. And now that I'm somewhere, how do I maintain it? What do they want? Versus like, there's part of me that's like, I made this album and people are like, what's your next parody song? It's like, I don't know. I just got cast at UCB and I kind of want to go do that now. It's like being like, I'm following
pigeonholed into something.
Right.
And you also did 32 of them. So like, maybe you enjoy them, you know?
I have a tendency to do that, which is like, I for better or worse, I do operate
I mean, in a good way, like for the audience, like, what's your next one? It's like, well, look at these 32 and like pick these in. Like you've done a lot right now. You'll come back to it when you're ready.
That's maybe me talking to myself. What's next? 32 isn't. It's like, well, it's only 32, and are they real songs? Right? I have all this negative self-talk.
No, I mean it's there's definitely some fun. I like that song "Breathe" too. It's kind of about
that's like probably like. Every now and then, that's when people say like, "Why aren't you writing serious songs?" And they don't mean it in a negative way. I think it's a positive,
right?
But
so "Breathe" is associated with a more serious song.
I would say so. It was something I heard someone say, which is like the space between the change and the result.
It's funny. Let's put it on for a second.
The space.
It's really beautiful, first of all. It's really beautiful. Who would you say it references?
This one doesn't reference. This is one that wasn't blatantly anything.
To me, it feels like gosh, I can't even think who it is, but almost like Bright Eyes, like that.
I would say that this genre, where I'm singing like this or playing like this, is connected to Sufjan Stevens, Elliott Smith covers. But I want to say, a lot of people have said for that Elliott Smith song and "Breathe," people say you're singing like Elliott Smith, and that's not on purpose. I will say that I do think that when I
just who we are,
my voice may just sound similar when I sing like this.
What's funny, I was actually on a walk when I heard this song for the first time, on a hike, run, walk thing, and it's true. Like it does take a long time for something to go from like an intention to the outcome. You know, like I was like 218 pounds and I couldn't barely even walk to the park, and now I like running the whole way up to the mountain. You know, and down to like 160. So it's like there's a big gap in that space, and this song can be really helpful for that. So as you can see how there's like a serious spiritual side, but also the comedy too. There's plenty of like funny things too that are also helpful. I think funny is helpful too.
I think I get self-conscious with lyrics. For better or worse, I think my relationship with language really stems from comedy, and like so it feels like music, like a lot of these beats, like "Breathe" is something that I wrote on the piano, and just naturally the language that came out of me was more serious, quote unquote. Like, and so I just followed it, and it's not like it. I suppose it's like I am not like intentionally choosing comedy or serious. It's like both exist, and for whatever reason in the moment, this is what I needed. This is what I needed to make.
I don't know if you know, but I also do these graphic novels, and I have this I call it serio comics because it mixed the serious and the comics. So I think like those kind of like stark tonal shifts that people are like uncomfortable with, or like executives or something like that, who are like, well, I don't know how to like what's frame this. I think that's actually more true to life. Like you could be having a great moment, then you get a text on your phone and like something terrible happens on your phone, or you check the news, something terrible happens in the news. Like that's more true to like our reality now, more and more than these kind of stark changes than maybe it was in the past. I think it's cool to have that kind of like juxtaposition of like the song "Breathe." The next one is the Amplified one, which is like silly about sopranos. Like that's a really like normal, like I see a meme, I see a horrible thing happen on my phone, then I see a meme, you know, it's like, at least my experience. I don't know
I think I do agree that like I've always been confused with music about why. I mean, I don't know where it stems from that like artists have to do a certain genre, and like I guess just for most people they like enjoy making one style of music, right? Like.
Right.
But
you really are all over the place. I mean, you were like, the song before this is like a Beastie Boys, which really does sound like a Beastie Boys song, except for the British element, which is like, I can't imagine them doing that, but who knows? And then, you know, I mean, so you really do kind of canvas the spectrum of what American music, well, not just American, but all music is right now.
Yeah. These are all bands I love, and this feels like the most comprehensive. Like when I put this out, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I like. This is my. That's why I titled that first track "Welcome to My Mind." I didn't write it with that in mind, but I was just like, this is what the inside of my head sounds like. It's like I like to write a kick-ass rock beat and then put silly lyrics on top of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not thinking of it in terms of. I guess I'm not thinking about it too much. In terms of all of it, it's just like letting go and like. I had a clown teacher who said it's not letting go that's hard, it's holding on as the water rushes out.
I dig that. Yeah. So, all right. Is there like a professional or personal question that's been, you know, thinking about today or this week, or like, you know, do you do these kinds of practices ever with like tarot or?
Not particularly. I mean, I still do the journaling from the artist's way, and I do find that sort of process that they offer up in ask a question on the page, and you'll be surprised the answer that comes out. Yeah. You'll be surprised that like if you write like, do I like this? You'll say yes or no pretty fast, or you'll say yes, no. You'll be like, oh, I'm confused.
Yeah.
Right. And I suppose my larger question in my professional life is that I have in the past 2 or 3 years finally kind of set out and taken the chance I wanted to take kind of my whole life, which is like to be something like this, like to move to LA and do both comedy and music and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess it's sort of like I just wonder what the rest of my life is going to look like.
Okay.
You know. Is that too big a question?
What's
my whole life
gonna look like?
I
mean, maybe I don't know. We could try that. I guess. So the playlist you want to bring out, you have a playlist that's.
Sure. I mean,
describe it.
Sure. Yeah. So I made what as part of the artist's way, not really. I suppose in conjunction with, it was like one of the things I had stopped doing was listening to music for pleasure.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
And not for pleasure, but like. That sounds extreme, but I guess it is kind of true.
No, it happens. It happens with me in movies when I was writing movies. Like, you know, I would like barely want to watch them anymore. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And
so I was just like, I felt like I had a very, what would you call that? Transactionary relationship with music, which was like, I was listening to new music to get I was just kind of like, I have my liked songs is like 5,000 songs, but I really know the names of any of them, or I just kind of listen to whatever vibe Spotify sends me. Versus like when I was a teenager, I would sit down and listen to Cross by Justice 300 times.
Oh, like more really, intentional relationship to it.
Yeah. And so it's a pretty one-to-one relationship of like in December I started listening to entire artists' catalogs and like fully listening to the tracks, listening to albums. I started with David Bowie. Cool. And I was like, I love David Bowie, but I don't really like when people are like, what's your favorite Bowie song? I was like, I don't really know. So I listened to every song he wrote.
Do you know what it is now?
I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff on here that's just like, there's tons of them. I love his different eras, and Pink Floyd and the Beastie Boys.
Do you think you have a Bowie song on the album? I might have missed it.
No, but I have a Bowie demo I made that I haven't done anything with.
Okay. Cool. So you were going through them, you were kind of like studying musicians in a way that you hadn't done in a long time, really really loving them, really knowing them. Yeah,
just listening to, like, you get suddenly a whole different understanding to an artist when you listen to their whole discography. Now, I haven't kept this up because it's also taxing to listen to, but the Beastie Boys song, I legitimately, in a week or two, listened to every single song they've released. Right. And then I made that Beastie Boys song. I was like, oh, that's like, in what goes in comes out, now we're done.
That's something that I do too. I write these parody Haggadahs for
I saw that,
Jewish holiday Passover, and so I'll just like watch the whole Seinfeld show, like just like in like a month, and then like get it inside you, and then like combine it with, you know, the Jewish holiday and make like a comedy religious thing, you know, kind of like how you're doing comedy music. It's like you have to like ingest the material and then kind of bring it all together. So definitely relate to that process. Like that, it's like an extreme process, but it's kind of like sometimes the only way. Right. It's just like, I'm listening to every Beastie Boys song, and then at the end of it, I will just release another Beastie Boys song, basically. That's like my own version of it. Yeah.
And I think what I was specifically doing with it, that I imagine you're doing the same thing, is like focusing in on what I like about it, which is like for the Beastie Boys, one of my favorite pieces of it was on I almost called St. Paul's Boutique. Paul's Boutique. I don't know why.
But some religion to there too. Yeah.
Paul's Boutique. Yeah. There's a bunch of songs that are like stories. Yeah. Like, and there's one called Eggman. It really sounds to me about like this guy called Eggman. They sing a song about this homeless guy on the street in New York, and there's all these songs about.
Price of eggs are really high then too. So, yeah.
And so it's just like I was like, I want to do a story song, and for some reason Mr. British popped into my head.
Yeah. So, okay, so we have your playlist. How many songs are on there?
So it's called Winter of Rock, and it was it's like,
what's in the top?
There's
60 hours.
60 hours.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot. And when I haven't done too much tarot. I did tarot once or twice. Is there a type of question that is best to ask?
I mean, your question is not it's pretty broad, but basically maybe you're kind of asking like, I've moved to LA, I've accomplished some things, like, was this the right, maybe not the right choice, like, what are you trying to do next? You mentioned you're just doing a UCB thing.
Well, it's like, it's a swinging, I feel the pendulum swinging back to like, I miss performing live comedy. I like doing live comedy. I got this music thing, not out of my system, but like, there was a part of me that didn't feel acknowledged, this inner artist in me of like music, and being like, all right, now maybe it's time to go back to performing live, and like I love doing that, and how do I bring some of this with me into that? So I guess the question is like, the big question is, what do I do with this album?
That's what I was gonna get to. Yeah, because I know you mentioned off camera that you got invited to like a Baltimore thing.
Oh, to perform. Some people have asked me to perform as a musician.
Very cool. Yeah.
But there's part of me that's like, but if I did that, I would also want to bring with me that same energy of the conductor guy, right? Like
maybe you could do both. You could like do one and then the other. Do a comedy sketch or a bit, and then do a song, and then go back and forth.
That's kind of what I'm thinking, is because like I don't want. There's part of me that's like wants to bring the performance. Yeah, exactly what you said. Yes. Yeah. But I don't know what that would look like.
Okay, so then that's the question then. So let's do a set of intention where we're saying the question is like, what do I do with this album? How do I bring this album into my act?
How do I bring this album into my act? Is there a good way to shuffle?
So as long as it says
shuffle.
Are you already on this playlist?
Yeah.
Though? You kind of have to go to the other one.
Okay.
The other one just to get off of it. Just hit another playlist and just get off of it. Yeah.
I've been listening to the new Lady Gaga album.
That's great.
All right.
Okay, so then we just kind of hold the question. It says, how do I bring this album to the rest of my work? How would you phrase it? Just kind of
I would say, how should I engage with bringing this album to the stage?
Great.
Or, this part of myself to the stage.
So we'll both think that thought, and then you're just going to shuffle when you're ready. Yeah. Some insight into that.
Okay.
How do you bring this album? Oh my God, most people like that. This is one of the best. This is also like your first song, the Talking Heads song, isn't it?
It is.
It's literally that song. I don't know what was the song called again?
I don't know what comedy is.
That was like. Let's pause for a second. So the first song that we talked about, I don't know what comedy is. That was a Talking Heads parody, basically.
Yes.
In a way. Yeah. Like you mentioned Talking Heads. That's actually a really funny moment here. Yeah. Is there we can pass this or?
It's at the end. Yeah. It's right here.
Okay.
You know, this is.
Yeah.
See, David Byrne. It's kind of funny because when I was trying to write a Talking Head song, it ended up sounding like LCD Sound System. I was like,
It's
this must
true.
be exactly what happened to James Murphy.
He was listening to that, and then he made his own version. It was similar but different. Yeah.
Well, I think the reason that I had such a strong reaction to this is because of Stop Making Sense, which is their live
I was just
concert,
thinking that
which
that
is
was
a show.
huge movie,
Right.
even though it was like just a show. Like
Yeah.
it was kind of, and it came back recently. There was a re-release at A24 that was. I went to a screening. It was a big thing. People are dancing in the theater, and it's kind of like, what is this? Like, are we now showing movies and showing concerts in movie theaters now? So it's kind of, I think you're playing with that line of like, what can you bring to the stage and why not? You know, also like once in a lifetime. Let's put that on conference.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, that song is about like. Also, like you moved to LA, you know, you're probably like living in like, you know, in a house. You're like, what am I doing here? I don't know where you were, but you're like, I want to be somewhere else, right?
I asked myself, how did I get here? I mean, that is how I feel. I do feel genuinely like it is. When people, I don't know, it just is strange for this side of myself that I felt very nervous to share, or that, for better or worse, in the past was seen as like, well, that's not quite the right fit.
Right.
Is now getting such a positive response.
That's very cool.
Is like a weird thing for me internally. Like,
how did I get here? Yeah. And you got here by embracing you, right? Like you're once in a lifetime. We're all one. We offer one gift, you know, if we live it fully, and if you're doing that with your album and your talent. I mean, yeah. So, can you imagine going to that Baltimore show or a show in LA and like, what would you want to do on stage, like David Byrne, like in your own way of doing it?
I think it's like costumes and the choreography and the sort of the one thing that isn't quite there that like I would include is like, but it is like the projections and having it be like, I think creating a piece rather than just playing songs.
Yeah,
You know
because
what I
so many
mean?
of your songs are so, in a good way, like covered with the other things around it, like whether it's cultural references like Sopranos, whether it's Animal Collective, that kind of mashup and the projection behind you could be really, really fun. Like showing a bunch of Sopranos memes, but mixed with like Animal Collective, because Animal Collective fans are like really specific these days. Like they
sure
look
are.
really interesting. So I feel like if you kind of play up that like, you know, not literally this, but what's that place in Vegas like? The new place.
The Sphere?
Yeah, like that's it. You play at the Sphere, but like, you know, your own version of like the Sphere, whatever you can get at like a clown type venue or wherever. I mean, don't hold yourself back. Wherever venue you want to be at, you know.
Well, it reminds me a lot too of one of the things that I loved growing up a lot was Weird Al, and specifically.
Yeah, Weird Al he's so really popular again. Too.
I mean, he had this like kind of resurgence that was so cool, and his live shows are essentially every song is a sketch. And he has sketches in between, and I always thought that would be
kind of, yeah.
And just creating a thing where it's like more like traveling with costumes and doing like, you know, if I'm going to play the Devo song, put on the goggles, put on the
the whole
jumpsuit,
thing,
you know, and go for it.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. So, just reflection for a second. Do you feel like coming here, having this conversation, having this shuffle, do you think that like there's just a little push in a positive direction? Like, do you think that's like a useful? Because I'm always trying to explain like what is practical about this method.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty amazing that song came on.
I was kind of blown. I was kind of
worried,
worried,
right? You're worried that it wasn't going to be anything, and then
I was worried it was going to be a song. I was like, I don't really know this song. I kind of put it on the
right.
playlist because I was listening to it. I don't really know this song.
But it happened to be like one of the more meaningful
and
songs
probably
that,
my favorite Talking Head song, even though I mean that's the stock answer for everything.
but it's also like one of those songs like if you can make that song, that's like a once in a lifetime song. Yeah. So do you feel like this is something that you can, because you're just a new practice to you, like do you think this is something that you bring to yourself at certain times, like special occasions, kind of figure things out, or like, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it was, it felt like a connection to something I was already thinking, or like it
just resonates. It just shows, externalizes your own resonance of what you're thinking, maybe.
Yeah, and clarifies too. Like I think specifically connecting it to a playlist of music that you listen to, being like, oh right, I really like Stop Making Sense, and I really like Talking Heads, and I really like how they did live shows. Why wouldn't I just do my own version of that, right?
Yeah.
Being like, plus it gives me this sort of like, and this is what I've also appreciated is like, when you listen to music in the way that I was listening to it, you find, if you have as much anxiety as I do, validation for types of artists being like, oh, right, well, someone's done something like this. It's not like, I am not crazy.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Specifically, like when people start writing my videos, like, you sound like Ween. And I never listened to Ween. I started listening to Ween, and I was like, wait, are they funny or are they a band? And being like, that's, who knows? And I was like, oh, cool. Wow. So there's already precedent. I think it's maybe like finding musical precedent for being like, oh, wait, this does, I think for some people, obsessing over originality can leave you alone. I'm looking for precedent so I don't feel alone. You know? Yeah. And so that made me feel like, oh, right.
I'm in a lineage here. Yeah, however you want to define it. Yeah. That's very cool. So I guess the thing that I wanted to do on my end was ask a question based on your, the original idea was to do your whole like collection of all your songs you've ever released, but your album is 32 songs, so I feel like that's
some of them are short.
But there's a pretty ample like selection to think about, and so I guess like how do I want to think about this? I always tell people like say the thing that you don't want to say. Actually, it's funny. Like I had another opportunity to do a podcast with someone who also is doing this work. Like there's not many people. It's very talk about being original and rare. Like I was like, oh, this person like is doing this too. Like we should do it. We should talk about it. And then like we had an interaction where like I was just like, oh, I noticed like you have a lot of like really, really pro Palestine things. Like I don't like what's going on there as well, but like I want you to know that I think Israel should exist. We should maybe like set some boundaries around this. But also, and then she responded and she was like, you know, I gotta think about it. I don't know if I feel comfortable with that. And I was like, okay, just be clear. Like you can say whatever you want. I just wanted to just made me think that like this is some sort of difference you might have to navigate. And it kind of blew up the podcast. Like she wrote back today and she was like, I thought about it and like I don't think our values are aligned. And I did a shuffle and it was a song that was like called In Another Universe by a jazz quartet or jazz trio. And I was like, in another universe, like this would have been a great conversation. And like, you know, the album was also called In Another Universe, and maybe that also means that like it could still be this universe at some point. And so, kind of reflecting on that, like maybe it was a blunder to like assume that our conversation would even go that way, or I should have had my own fear-based mentality. And so, I don't know what to say. I guess maybe you shouldn't be talking about this publicly, but I just felt like it was this thing that I don't want to talk about because it happened. I was like, really, really excited, and I feel bad that it went badly for her, or for me, and for them. So I don't know. I just some sort of question about like, is there some repair? Or, I don't know, or just is it good that it went this way? I don't know. Know. What do you think? Maybe help me refine my question. I did for you. What would you say?
I think like what to do in the wake of things that like. Because you can't control that sort of. I mean, in conversations, things just come up.
Yeah.
And you can't. Especially if you don't know someone, you don't know how they're going to react, or how what you said will affect them, or how maybe what views you have that like that talking to them will change you, and yada yada yada.
That's what I was saying too. I was like, I realized that I shouldn't have maybe set a boundary. I should say like we should just talk about anything, whatever comes up, will be open.
Right.
And then that was kind of. Anyways,
I guess what to do in the wake of when something when something goes kind of sideways, what to do with it, especially when it doesn't go in a way that makes you feel stressed or bad, you know, like what do you do with that?
Yeah. Okay. What do we do with that? How do you alchemize it? Maybe how do you alchemize that kind of thing? And there's some good songs to hear about that. I feel like you have a lot of like stuff. So, all right. So I'm gonna do that thing where I go on the repeat for a second to get off it, clear it. I'm gonna go back to you. Oops. Here. I'm just gonna go straight into the album.
Sure.
All right. So the question is, what to do in the wake of like a failed collaboration? It's a positive collaboration, and like how do you alchemize that? Maybe we're alchemizing it right now. I don't know. All right, let's see what to do. From Kenny's album Demolicious, Derby. Here's a song that we're getting. How to alchemize sideways collaboration. Oh, interesting. I mean, I think that's how she felt. She felt, and I felt. Right? I felt really hurt. I was like, this is a meme, right? This is a very internet-based song.
This is, yeah.
Right? Because it's about the video where Charlie bit my finger, right?
Well, it's funny because it's a parody of Idols.
What's Idol?
So Idol, it's kind of funny you bring this up. So Idols is a punk rock band who's very political.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh.
And Idols.
Also, Idols, the name Idols is interesting because it's like religious idols, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah.
And so this is I wanted to sing like Idols, and the first thing that came to my mind for some reason was that the way he sings sounds like the kid in Charlie Bit My Finger, and Charlie Bit My Finger kind of sounds like Idols lyrics.
So what is Charlie Bit My Finger, so people know that?
Charlie Bit My Finger is a meme from, I think I said at the end, 2007.
Oh, sorry. Wow, okay.
From a long time ago, when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I believe it's two brothers in a car in the UK. And one of them goes, Charlie bit my finger. It really hurt.
I feel like we're like siblings, me and this person. Like we have like we both have this practice. We separated. We don't really know each other, but we're siblings. And like I bit her finger and she bit my finger.
And so I feel like they're very Idols is very political, and they do a lot of like.
Are they very leftist? Especially?
I would say like they're like a big like fuck fascism, fuck. Like in the UK, they were like super anti Boris Johnson, but they do it.
So they're pretty recent, too.
Yeah, they're new, and I would say they have a real sense of like, they're very silly, and like they sort of like, like, fuck you, big love. Like it's sort of this like they sort of like dance with like. It's almost a celebration of like what's the name of that? Like one of their albums is called like something violence, or it's just they blend like
love and politics.
Yeah, and just like they have like a song like their music's very violent or aggressive, and then their T-shirts are like a picture of a Pomeranian. Right. So it's this sort of contrast. And they like dance on stage like very what would be considered like perhaps like feminine or like not super macho. So they kind of play with like this anti-macho thing of like like they're kind of like reformed punks. It's an interesting.
That's interesting too because I mean one of my other big projects is this graphic novel about guns. I don't know if we've ever talked about that. It's like we're running for 11 years and it's called Should We Buy Guns? About a like-minded couple. They're newlyweds. They get mugged at gunpoint. They're trying for a baby, and they have their first big fight about this like major issue in America. And so I'm on the left, and I started as a complete pacifist, that we should get rid of all the guns, and then over 11 years, I'm much more neutral. And actually, the illustrator, I didn't know this at the time, but when I hired him through my godson was like 5 years old, and his friends with his son, and we just met, and he's on the right. So he ended up being on the right, I'm on the left, and so it's kind of, I have this mindset where it's like, whatever the difference is, we should like play with it and figure it out, and kind of, and that, but also like, I'm kind of like a witch boy, like I'm in this space where a lot of people who are doing this work, they're like witchy women, and I feel like I'm kind of like that band where I'm like kind of punk, but also like kind of massive, but also feminine at the same time. Yeah. In that way, where it's like they might be suspicious of me, like who are you in this space, like what are you doing, but I'm also like I'm with you guys. I'm like I'm giving you guys a hug too. I'm a Pomeranian, so maybe even just making this video. If they come across it or someone else comes across it, it could like explain some of the things. But I think that's fascinating. That was that song.
Yeah, I think like the message I kind of take away from it is like Idols turns like how can you turn your anger and frustration into joy? That's their. I think that's kind of their big thing, and like
Yeah.
all of the lyrics, like in that song, the lyrics are all
Yeah, do you have
about.
the lyrics of that one? Yeah,
That's a good
I feel
question.
like I got the chorus for sure. Like
Charlie
the
bit my finger is like the joke.
Yeah.
But it's here it is. It's me making fun of the way, not making fun, but love it. Like,
if you want to be president, you're the prick. I need a. Oh wow.
It's sort of making fun of the way that it was making fun of the way Idol's lyrics sound.
Mm-hmm.
Like he used to smoke the reefer with Queen Latifah, scored a quick goal, then he kissed the keeper, danced in his leather down in Leaf. Like they do a lot of very like silly, fun imagery. So it's like, but excuse me, I'm remembering. It's called Joy as an Act of Resistance. That's what Idols is.
Right.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's sort of like the joy of like the imagery of punk and violence, but taking all of this dark feelings and turning it into joy.
Yeah.
You know.
I love that. So alchemy. Yeah. Well, I think we did that here. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this particular. Maybe we can jump back to you and just say like,
it's cool.
This has been pretty fun. And what else do you have coming up in that we can like? Not doesn't mean like a new album, but like where can we? If we're in LA, where can we find you next, or where can I find you online? That kind of stuff.
Online, you can follow me at Kenny Gray, and the E is a 3. And I just joined a sketch team at UCB, and we perform monthly. It's called Lasers.
Oh, very cool.
I'll be performing with them at least through June, and then there's a new season, and who knows what happens. But and I'll be posting stuff online, and if you follow my socials, you'll see everything I do.
Yeah, socials. And if you see this and you want to put Kenny on your stage and bring this vision to life, like
I'd love an opportunity to try something.
Yeah, very cool. So this has been video number 1 of getting a musician and doing this, and I think it went swimmingly. I think
it was really cool. I enjoyed myself.
Thanks. Well, we just got these blueberries, but we'll eat those on the side. All right. Cheers, y'all. Thanks.
Later.